After finishing the Wild Gun series last episode, I thought I'd go ahead and finish off another. It's been 11 episodes since I covered the first Prehistoric Isle game, and so it's time I checked out Prehistoric Isle 2. Usually the old SNK arcade franchises were released pretty close together, but in this case the sequel came a whole 10 years after the original. Set in the future, decades after the 1930s the original was set, the dinosaurs have somehow made it off their island and they're attacking several places all over the world. To stop this, the army sends out just 2 helicopter pilots, thinking that'll be enough to deal with the threat. This time the 2 pilots are separately selectable and aren't tied to player as they each have their own properties, meaning 2 playthroughs. I don't think either of these pilots have names, so I'll just refer to them by their helicopter's colour. First is the blue one. The first stage takes place in a crowded city, where we can see others fleeing. The blue copter has a horizontal shot and its bomb is a huge cannon. To start with, we get pterodactyls of varying size. While dealing with some big ones, I end up blowing up this building and sending survivors flying. I can catch them and have them form a chain coming from my copter until I can drop them off at a rescue vehicle for bonus points and items. There's also this huge fire-breathing pterodactyl that flies off before I can kill it. This gets followed by some medium-sized ones with their own projectiles. My guns can also level up as well. At level 2, my guns now fire 2 shots at once. The bomb looks really cool too and is so satisfying to use. Around this point, I start flying down through the huge chasm in the road the dinosaurs have opened up. As I reach the floor, I meet some surprisingly tiny Triceratops, around the same size as my helicopter. That helicopter is massive. Blue pterodactyls show up and these somehow have a spread shot fire breath. After a bit I get the prompt, defend people. A train crashes and the vehicle lands to transport the survivors. I have to keep killing enemies as they appear on screen to prevent them from reaching civilians. My gun continues to level up for more and bigger shots during this. I save the 20 required, but that ends with 2 more left behind that I'll have to carry myself. As I continue through the subway, little raptors start to appear. I also picked up a missile that fires down towards the ground while I shoot. Things start speeding up and I almost get crushed under a big dinosaur dropping from the ceiling. Said dinosaur smashes through the wall in the back and I follow, descending into the sewers. In the sewer water I get more dinosaurs spitting bubbles at me. The carrier is also here so I can drop off those civilians. The boss then finally appears and it's the same dinosaur I was following. I follow it some more into the boss arena before the fight starts. It can take huge leaps backwards while firing out many shots in a pattern I'm just not skilled enough to deal with. It has an easier to deal with spread shot as well that it fires from its horns. Then there's jumping in place firing 3 ring-shaped lasers that travel in a straight line. Its next attack is a charge attack that takes it off screen and leaves extra projectiles behind, along with extending green rings that also kill on contact. I just have to keep shooting at it until it dies. Stage 2 takes place over the ocean and I'll be showing my playthrough as the green helicopter. The green one's gun has a spread shot instead of the more linear shot the blue helicopter has. I just take on even more pterodactyls as I approach the edge of an island. The edge crumbles to reveal a set of ruins. As I move further, the Triceratops and Raptors also make a return. I start flying up these ruins, taking out more of the same enemies until I reach the top and have to defend people who climb up. How the hell did these lot even get here in the first place? The ruins were completely hidden until a minute ago. It's not very hard, especially with the use of my bomb, which is a screen wipe. I'm also at max level on my gun, meaning several high-speed shots. Once again the carrier leaves 2 people behind for me to babysit. I fly down to the bottom of the tower, getting a homing missile on the way. As I reach this desert, huge sandworms start coming up and going for me, but with my missiles I can keep bombing their holes. I reach another mountain to find that the fossils are alive. They don't get to do much before I blow their heads off though. I change weapon to one with less but bigger shots. I reach the skeleton at the end which also comes to life and pulls its head from the ground. It spends a few seconds swinging its head around before breathing a bit of fire and then repeating. After it game overs me, I respond with my default bomb, a huge spread shot, to finish it off. I move up and get going forward again. We get new pterodactyls that face the screen and fire a circular bullet spread. Then it's a long stretch taking on several pterodactyls before I reach some more ruins and get my first Stegosaurus. Following that is the boss, which looks like it could be a new rampage monster. It will spit a wall of fire around its head and fire lasers from its horn. It can also use Terry Bogard's Power Dunk, fitting for an SNK game. When it kills me I manage to get in a ton of damage by spamming bombs while it stays in place, firing the same patterns of lasers over and over. After enough damage it turns purple and starts with larger homing lasers. The Power Dunk will also start shooting lasers to the edges of the screen. Next new attack is a flash kick, causing some of its horns to come loose and home in on me, followed by another large spread shot moving at high speed. A few more shots and it turns red and drops dead. Back to the blue copter for stage 3, taking place over a huge forest. Starting with more pterodactyls as usual. By this point I gained a new missile that shoots in a straight line forward. As I take out the same enemies I've faced before, it gets upgraded so that 2 missiles come out at once from both the top and bottom. A bit further in and I meet the boss, a giant pterodactyl that has its back facing me and fires several giant feathers at me that are easily shot down. I just keep shooting until it gets fed up, flies into the corner and swoops down at me. That's about it, just keep shooting it in the arse until it explodes. That's the shortest level in the game and the least interesting, the boss being the only new thing in it. Stage 4 and we approach this island that I assume is the one from the original game, but this game is so sparse on story it isn't confirmed. I'm not in the stage very long before I have to defend people when a large plane is blown up and crashes. While getting the 30 rescues I need, I end up upgrading my missiles to the point I'm firing 4 homing ones at once. At this point the only thing that can kill me is me not noticing a projectile with everything going on, since nobody's getting that close to me right now. And that's exactly what happens. As trees start appearing in the background, I get some larger raptors that fire large, slow-moving projectiles. As more trees appear, insects start to get involved, like laser-firing dragonfly and flies that shoot bigger projectiles than themselves. Eventually I'm completely inside a forest where there's a T-Rex in the background that jumps in to attack me while I save a civilian hanging to a tree that a smaller T-Rex is going after. While fighting that, I get these gigantic things also joining in and trying to shoot me down, never mind the tiny ones firing huge bubbles as well. It's not long before the greenery starts to die and the background becomes more grey. Then the water turns red as I get lotus flowers also spitting fireballs and rapidly growing and exploding spiky fruit. The screen stops at this nest constantly shooting huge stingers at me. I just have to blast it off the tree so I can continue. A huge wasp comes out of the water and flies off, and not long after I'm warned of the boss as I see several helicopters being shot down. It's the same wasp that appeared not long earlier. It doesn't get to do much for a bit. First I damage it enough to make its arse triple in size, and then even more which makes its head burst out like a centipede. From there it'll fly around shooting lasers from every segment of its body while at the same time I'm blowing up those segments as best I can. It doesn't take long, this is probably the least durable level boss in the game. Stage 5 starts off with us in front of the volcano in the background, which explodes. Everything's on fire and I have to deal with a million pterodactyls and a T-Rex at once. Apart from that, there isn't much to say about the first stretch as there isn't anything new until I reach this lake of lava with fireballs falling from the sky into it. Past that I enter a cave and start going underground with the same pterodactyls all the way down. I finally start getting something new with these little blue bats, but that's about it. The screen stops at one point and I have to kill another T-Rex to get it moving again, but eventually I make it to what I think is a mining facility where I have to defend people again. I make it to 23 rescues before a piece of machinery falls down and blocks the path for the rest. Moving on after that part takes me out of the facility and in front of a lava fall, descending while having to take on 4 of the biggest pterodactyls at once. When they're all dead and I'm at the bottom, the screen gets moving again. I pass by the burning remains of the area and actually get another new enemy, an Ankylosaurus that rolls in on screen and gets killed by me before it can try anything. A bit more of this and I reach the boss. It's a grey palette swap of the same T-Rex I've been seeing all game. This does have its own attacks though, like spitting several fireballs that travel in an arc, along with a spread fire breath with great range. It can walk towards me while firing several projectiles from its tail. It dies quickly but turns out to not actually be the boss. I rise to the summit of the volcano, being followed by a giant alien squid. It comes in from the right side of the screen to fight me, taking up a lot of space and firing many bullets from both eyes. This doesn't last long though before I do enough damage to scare it off and finish the stage. Stage 6 is just the final boss. High above the volcano, the squid comes back for a round 2. It's gained claws alongside its tentacles and little volcanoes along the sides of its body. I take them out, but past them it's got laser cannons on its sides. I take those out and reach the top of its head, where there's a laser firing eyeball. I can't shoot left, so I have to leave it for now. I start travelling along the underside of the squid, having to deal with more little volcanoes before I have another chance at shooting the front. I take off both of its claws before they can do anything, and put out an eye while the other one starts firing a rainbow spread shot. I take out its snout and then the other eye, so it swaps sides and sends the eyeball end after me. It's got hair sending out huge missiles, but I use my bombs and just blast that entire section off the body. This prompts the main eyeball in the middle of the body to open up, while the end I've blown open also starts with its own spread shot. I destroy that bit too to reveal a giant mouth. The eye now starts shooting massive fast rings of fireballs that are tricky to avoid, along with gigantic purple spinning buzzsaw things that explode into another ring of projectiles. Then comes the linear blue fireballs and the mouth opening to fire an almost screen filling beam. The end comes soon after. No ending, just credits. Like its predecessor, Prehistoric Isle 2 is fine. I think I prefer the original just a bit though. I said back then that the first game was just the perfect length, and this game is very similar but also around 50% longer, which did become a bit of a problem with the game's lack of enemy diversity. There's only so many pterodactyls you can shoot down before you get sick of the sight of them. I also prefer the visuals of the first game. Being 10 years later gets some more technically advanced graphics, but I just found the pixel art of the original more appealing than the pre-rendered look this game went with. But at the same time, I loved the feeling of my firepower more in this game, but that mentioned extra length and small enemy pool dragged it back a bit. Still a fine game though. That's also my 4th full series completed, if you count Wild Guns and Reloaded as a series that is. One day I'd like to complete a series that's more than 2 games, but I'm sure I'll get there eventually. This series does well when put up against the other 3 I think, only topped by Wild Guns. 2 fine games of roughly equal quality, never great but never below average. That tops the previous bland game with OK sequel and surprisingly good game I liked more than this series but let down with an incredibly disappointing sequel. Not bad for a series I started just for the hell of it because the collection cart was already in my Switch and I needed a few games recorded because I was running out at the time.